So how much money should you keep in reserves in your business? Today we're going to get one clear number for you to aim at in your business. You might already have it in there, or it might be something we need to build up to. Either way, we're going to get some real clarity from this video. Welcome into the channel. I'm Dr. Alex Engar, your profit doc for the day. And today we're going to look at why you should really care about the reserves that are in your business. Then I'm going to give you the formula for exactly how much you should be keeping in reserves at all times in your business. And finally, we'll go through the two different ways to build up to those reserves so that you can sleep well at night knowing that you've got what you need in the business. I'll tell you, this is one of the most stressful things that business owners talk to me about. Stressful for them, not for me. I love this conversation. But I see a lot of people losing sleep at night because of this decision. They feel like they don't have enough in the business. Things are tight, things are lean, and so they're always making decisions from this place of scarcity and not having enough. Then they struggle because there's the business that needs money and there's themselves that need money and their family. So I want to introduce you to a concept that I call the priority scale. Let's dive over into the drawing board and see how this works. All right, so this is the priority scale, and there are two sides to the scale, and on each side there are two more sides, all right? So over here, we have your business. Over here, we have you personally. These are your financial needs in the business and for your own family. And then within each of those, we have debt, repayment, paying down people that you owe, and we have reserves, okay? Now, as we look at your business and how much we should keep in reserves, we can't keep it completely separate from you personally. Because guess what? You're the business owner. Your personal finances likely depend on what's going on in the business. And so we have to weigh out both of these. So the very first thing I ask someone when they say, how much should I keep in the business, is how are you doing personally? Do you have 3 months of reserves built up in your own personal emergency fund? If not, we should probably be focusing on that and keeping the minimum necessary in the business. If on the other hand you feel like, no, I'm doing great personally, we've got other income, or I've got a bunch of cash sitting here, great, then we can go focus on building up the business. But either way, you should know what your priority is. And within the personal side, is it debt? Is it reserves? Same thing on the business. What is the priority right now? And to be honest, only you can decide. So the next step in this process is to figure out what I call your baseline burn. Baseline burn is the amount of money that you're spending every single month to make sure that you're staying in business. And there's two components to it. Now, you might have a business where you feel like, hey, I have a pretty significant cost of goods, maybe because you sell a specific product or service. We're not going to factor in cost of goods just yet. So for baseline burn, first we want to find what expenses are you spending on every month with consistency. The easiest way to do it is to pull out a profit and loss statement that can cover a big enough time frame, like 6 to 12 months, so that we can go find some averages. So on average, for rent and utilities, what are you paying? For insurance, what are you paying? For fuel, for maybe it's entertainment, maybe it's food, maybe it's travel. I want you to get all of your baseline expenses every month, the averages. I want to see how much are you actually spending. Over here on number 2, I want you to look at the people costs. So I want you to list out literally every person in your company that's receiving a salary, and then I want you to list how much on average per month. Now you might say, Alex, their wages change every month because they're working more or less. I get that. Get some averages, okay? And then we're going to add those two together to get one firm number that we'll call baseline burn. So maybe in this case we have 10K of expenses over here, and maybe in payroll we average 40K. Great, then my baseline burn would be 50,000, okay? Now we'll take that into the next section to look at your reserves. If you're finding this content useful and you want to see more stuff like this drawn out to make finances simple for you, just hit the subscribe button so that you can get all the best stuff in your YouTube feed. All right, so now that we have your baseline burn, let's pull it in to figure out how much we need to save in reserves. So remember, we said we had 50K of baseline burn. There are 3 different levels of reserves that you could get to in your business, and it completely depends on your industry and your cash flow. But let's assume that we want to have at least 1 month's worth of expenses of baseline burn in the bank at all times. So you're going to multiply it by 1. That's good. Better is times 2. Best is times 3. So I might have an initial goal of getting 50,000 in reserves. My next level goal might be 100. My next level might be 150. Now, if you have a significant cost of goods in your business, you also might want to be factoring that in. If you know that you spend $100,000 a month on average for cost of goods, well then I might want to have an additional 100K per month in there to build up my reserves to the point where I feel like I've got enough money in there to operate completely and I'm good. On the other hand, if you only pay for your cost of goods when a client pays you, you might be able to get away with less in the bank. All right, so now that we know how much we need to save, let's look at how we build up to that. There are two primary ways that business owners build up reserves. The first one is the most common. We call it the slow burn. You're literally saving up a percentage of your revenue every single month. We recommend trying to save between 3 and 5% of your revenue into a separate account that starts to build up over time, and then we put that money into our working capital account every quarter. That's the slow burn method, a little bit at a time. The other way is to get a big chunk of change, and when you get that big chunk of change, to resist the urge to spend it all right now or pay yourself out everything. Sometimes if you have a big old product launch or you land a huge client, you'll get this giant influx of cash into the business, and you will be so tempted to go buy all those things that you've wanted. Instead, you can say, no, I'm going to be a disciplined business owner. I'm going to set that up as my reserves or my working capital. That's the quick burst way to do it. And I see a lot of business owners not have the discipline to do that. So if you're in that boat and you can make that happen, good on you. Now, you might have caught that I said this word working capital. What is the difference between working capital and reserves? Well, here's the problem with having all of your reserves in a separate bank account that you never touch. You actually need money to run the business. And so in your main checking account, we need to keep some money in there at the beginning of every month. We call that working capital. And usually the first 1 month of reserves is really going to be sitting in your main checking account as working capital. And every month, we'll make sure at the beginning of the month, we start with that much money in that bank account. And even though it's technically reserves, we need to use it to run the business. Therefore, it's working capital. Once we get to the point where we have so much money in reserves, it starts to make sense to keep that outside of your main checking account. We don't want to be giving that account number out to everyone and have all our money sitting in that one bank account. And we also don't want to see so much money in there that we feel like we can just spend willy-nilly. So instead, after you get to that initial 1 month of reserves, I recommend setting up a separate account that we will actually call reserves and have that first month in working capital and everything else in a separate reserves account that you don't touch in case of emergency. So now if you're seeing all of this and you think, great, I have the number in my head, but how do I get there? Well, then I want you to watch our next training that we call the 9 cash flow levers. And this is how you can improve cash flow, profit, and ultimately reserves in your business in the quickest way by pulling specific cash flow levers in your business. If you click the link below, we'll send you that entire training for free so you can go build up your reserves faster. Thanks so much for watching. We're excited to see you on the next video.